like to take it easy, so I've got a little presentation for you today about how to make your life a lot easier with events, and that's called AS3 Signals. Has anyone heard about AS3 Signals here? A few people? Okay. So this will be hopefully a lot of fun for you. I actually discovered this project like a month ago, and I was so impressed by it that I took it as my subject here today, so I hope you like it as much as I do. So, before I begin, just a little bit about myself, because you probably don't know me. I'm quite new here. So, I'm a freelance Flash platform consultant. That means I do Flash, Flex, and Air. And I'm also a founding partner of a new company in Pondicherry called Project Cocoon. So my two colleagues are here. If you have any difficult questions, please go to them. I'm also an author to a few books. The most recent one is Object-Oriented ActionScript 3 by friend of Ed. I didn't bring any, sorry, but maybe next time I can give some away. It's a good book, so please buy it and make me rich. I'm also a certified geek. So people who know me know that I'm very much into computers. You'll find me in my room most of the time. You'll have to drag me out to get me to see places. I'm also a certified instructor, a certified expert. I'm involved in a lot of Adobe programs, which is what brought me here actually. So just a little bit of background for you guys. But now the important thing, what is AS3 Signals? So AS3 Signals is actually an open source project. And it's developed by a guy called Rob Penner. And Rob Penner, you might know, is the guy who did the tweening equations for Flash. So I think it was Flash CS3 when he got those tweening classes. He's the guy who wrote the math for that. So he got a job at Adobe. And after leaving Adobe, he started looking at how he could improve ActionScript 3. And he came up with a new sort of event model, and it's called Signals. So it's an alternative way of working with events in ActionScript 3. And events are everywhere. You've seen it in those frameworks. You use them everywhere. So actually, a good way of working with events is very important. And he found a really nice way of doing it. A lot more lightweight than you usually have. It's inspired by C# events and signals and slots in Qt. Now, I don't develop in any of those languages, but people who do say that that's one of the nicest features in these languages. So he took away the best features of C# and of Qt, and he implemented it in ActionScript 3. It's very lightweight. You'll see that later on. I have some statistics on how it performs. It's very, very, very easy to use, as you'll see. So don't be afraid; it won't be too hard to follow. And it's also very fast to use, which is why my presentation is so short today. So before we get started, I'd like to cover some basics about events. You probably all know it, and I'll go over it anyway in case you don't know it. So we've got two things. One thing is an event dispatcher. If you want to work with events in ActionScript 3, you need to be able to dispatch it, to send it to objects that listen to it and can respond to it. So that's one element, and the other element is the thing that gets dispatched, and that is the event itself. So all events in ActionScript 3 are based on a class called FlashEvent.event. And that class has a string name, and that string name determines what type of event it is. Now, I'll go on a little bit, but just let's look at how this works. So I've got a little example here. Let's switch to this microphone. So my little example, I'll just run it first so you can see what it does. It is something very simple. It's showing 3 images. And somebody learns that if you present something and people not always are with you, you should put up some cute animals. So that's what I did. What I want to do is just display some images, and when I click on it, I want to get an event back and know what image it is that I clicked. So if I move this out a little bit, and I click on these images, you'll see that I get some trace statements at the bottom here. And that's showing that I clicked image 1, image 2, image 3. So how do you do that? How do you use events? And the traditional way is doing it like this. I'll show you 2 ways of doing it normally. So you have a class here, and it's creating some instances of a photo class. I'll show you the photo class in a moment. So what do we do here? We instantiate that photo and we give it a path to an image. It needs to load it and display it. So we do that 3 times for each of the photographs. We give it its X and Y position and we add it to the stage. So that makes the photos visible. Now, what do we have to do? We have to add an event listener to this. This is the traditional approach, not what AS3 Signals does. So we say photo 1.add event listener, mouse event.click. So that's actually a string value. If you look at mouse event.click, that is actually a string value called click. And it's just using these constants for compilation reasons, so you get error messages when you compile, and they should be wrong. So what happens when you click? This function gets called onPhotoClick. So we go to onPhotoClick, and that's this function here. And that PhotoClick gets an event back, and that event is of the same type that got dispatched. So this is actually a mouse event. And this event is based, like all events, on flash.events.event. And in that event class you have extra things. So, for example, what you see here is we say event, which we get from the argument here. We say .current target. Now that's part of the overhead that you get with normal ActionScript events. You get a lot of extra information that you don't always need. So in this case we know which element dispatched an event. In this case this is the photograph. So we say event.currentTarget is a photo. A photo is that custom class we made. So what I can now do is say photo.file. And file is a property in that photo class that got exposed. That's either public or it has a getter and a setter method. So that's the first approach. I'll show you how that photo class looks. Now, you see public class photo. We have a loader for loading in the external image. We have a file reference here, which has a getter and a setter function here. So we can use it as a property. What happens? So the loader gets instantiated here. We listen for the complete event. And we load the actual file that gets passed in to the constructor. So, as soon as the event complete fires,